when I first started my own company, did the bookkeeping at night. So, the old put the kids to bed, and then till
invoice your client.
12:30, 1 o'clock, you're invoicing clients and doing paperwork. Did that for a whole number of years, right?
Wow.
Roll it.
Yeah, we're rolling now, right? So today, everyone, we got Rob Dingman here in the office, and he's come downtown to discuss a little bit about himself, his past, and maybe a few trade secrets, the secret to success, and his longevity in the market. And yeah, man, thanks for coming.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, Chris, and thanks for the opportunity to be here and the opportunity to spend time in your office now, working with yourself, who I've respected for a number of years, and you're the next generation of the hospitality design and what's happening in Edmonton, making it happen in the hospitality design end. So.
Yeah, and you are the first designer to come into this speaker series or interview series we have.
Oh, thank you.
Excited, and hopefully it feels good to be the first. I would say that we are technically, and for the viewers, technically competitors. I grew up in the industry knowing of you and knowing what you did, and then when I graduated school, obviously you had a really strong business. I've been doing this 25 years, so 25 years ago when I joined, your firm was on fire, best in town. So I think that's where I want to start the conversation is, what got you into design, and do you take us back a few years on how did you get into hospitality design? Where was that start point?
The design aspect came at an early age, where my parents were teasing me because I was born left-handed and they forced me to be right-handed.
Okay.
So my dad said, well, we knew you were gifted or different from the get-go. And then it was a matter of, I got involved in some athletic and sports and stuff, and I thought I might want to be a sportscaster or above radio TV
Doing this.
sportscaster, doing whatever. And then my dad was saying, well, that's not really a profession, and whatever, maybe you should find something. And
More creative.
More creative. And he said, if you want to be in the creative side, why don't you look at going down an avenue of the arts, crafts, or architecture, or interior design. And that just kind of how it developed and whatever. And through that and the schooling, I kept up my athletics. So it kind of interestingly worked in parallel with going to school and graduating in architectural technology, interior design and stuff. And then following through with some friends on the athletic side, which interestingly enough opened up some other doors, and I'll get into that with some guys. And with the architectural firm, neither one are around longer, but Biddorf Wensley Architects.
That was your first gig?
That was my first.
Out of Nate?
Out of Nate.
And so it was Edmonton school, and then your first job was Edmonton?
That's correct.
Year? What year did you start in the business?
1968.
Okay.
1968. And
First, so it's like a September or springtime of 68 after Nate?
It was a springtime.
First job, eh?
Yeah, first job.
Care to share? How much per hour? Like, what was the pay rate back then?
Well, I was the second highest paid student, and I got paid $375 a month.
Wow.
So, and at that point in time, of course, it was T-squares and drafting boards. And,
$375. That would be what, your latte bill this month?
well, yours, not mine.
How things have gotten expensive?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like I tell my granddaughter, it's the Grandpa can't afford the $20 Starbucks drive-through. So, a very great opportunity to work for extremely talented architectural firm in Don Biddorf and Jim Wensley and stuff. Very, very fortunate to get mentored by some folks in that office and by Don and Jim to do some great Edmonton projects. I won't have to name them because some of your viewers may not, other than Southgate or Horlock Park, Mayfair Park back in the day and stuff. I was involved in some of those things and some high-end.
Some great buildings too.
Some great buildings and high-end homes in Edmonton and stuff. But through my athletics and got involved in athletics and stuff, and I got to know some people and played racket sport for a number of years, semi-professionally and stuff. And through that, met some folks and introduced me to Dr. Allard's corporation, to Alarka Developments.
Was that your second job? Like you
That would
left
be my second job.
and you went to work for Allied Development?
Well, they interviewed me. They said they were looking for an in-house architectural design,
Yep.
an interior design coordinator, because they were growing and developing at
What year was that?
that time. That was 1972.
Okay, so you had 4 years already.
I was really kind of embarrassed to go to the interview, but this
Why?
friend insisted, because I felt a very strong bond to Biddorf Wensley.
You felt
And
like you
then
were
the mentoring,
leaving them or cheating them.
Yeah, and the mentoring. And when I graduated, it was like, not unlike some of the rise and fall of the economy. It was a fall at that point in time. So I worked for 2 to 4 months, basically cleaning up the library and learning the library aspect of an architectural interior design.
At Dr. Allard's office.
No, at Biddorf Wensley.
Oh,
At
okay,
Biddorf
so your
Wensley.
first gig was literally doing anything.
Oh, yeah.
Those are bad times in 68, 69?
Yeah, there was. Yeah.
So the economy was down.
The economy was bad, and I felt very obligated for the fact that they hired me when really I was doing office cleanup.
Yeah.
And learning. And back in that day, you did that. The juniors did that, and you ran the blueprinting machine and stuff, and did collating of specs. So, we learned all of that from the ground up. And then the opportunity for the interview to go to work to look at Dr. Allard's corporation. And they were just they were growing and developing within themselves, and had the construction arm with Redden Construction.
And how they, what they call that company?
Redden Construction.
Redden Construction, okay.
One of the developments that all Edmontonians would still know would be the Chateau Lacombe,
Okay.
which is still there, and then later on ITV. And so the opportunity rose for the interview, and I went for the interview, and they said they would call me, in a day or so, and I went back to the office, and they called me later that evening and offered me a position, and I waited for a day and I went in and I spoke with Jim Wensley, and I sat down, and he said, "Well, what are they offering you?" I told him. He looked at me. He stood up, held out his hand.
Yeah.
He said, "Good luck, kid." He said,
More than 375 for sure.
more than 375.
Yeah.
And he said, "Good luck, kid." He said, "Don't forget us here."
Wow.
And the bottom line is that we ended up working on numerous projects together, shopping malls and different things, and coordinating.
Oh, as him being the architect. And then is there a lesson there? Like today we have a lot of young designers working here in the office, working in Calgary with us. What do you see that hasn't changed in those years for people coming out of school in a bad time? So you came out of NAIT at a bad time in Edmonton.
Correct.
Did you just, like, you didn't shy away from cleaning a library?
No,
The
not
lesson
at all.
there is just get your foot in the door
Get your foot in
and
the
stay 4 years at 375. Yeah, like that was the lesson though.
And at the end,
What can you share?
at the end of the day, I wouldn't have traded anything.
Okay.
And I probably still would have been there for the opportunity. And I guess what I've always said, even in business, but in athletics, you never know what doors that'll open for you. And that very interesting thing I've always maintained. So your point is to young people, a lot of today's young people want to come out and start being you and I. That doesn't work that way, Just come in, be a sponge. Not everyone in your graduating class or my graduating class is still doing what you and I are doing today.
No, the majority doesn't, right?
The majority
Yeah.
doesn't. In my class, I'm one of two. That's still three. I'm sorry, three. One of the chaps went on and went to the States and graduated and is an
Okay,
architect.
so stayed in the business.
Stayed in the business. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say we're 2 or 3 in the business from my graduating year. I obviously graduated in '92.
Right.
I was sorry, '94, so way longer, so way later. But yeah, it's not very many in the business.
No, not at all. And
So maybe that's the common. And then I like how you jumped from the firm to go to a private corporation. That would be scary for somebody today to go from a great architecture firm to a developer. What's the lesson there? What can you share with our viewers on what you think? Like, how did somebody at your age back then take that risk to leave a great job and go work for a private corporation? What was the message?
being engaged in the process of being married, I guess the fact of knowing who Dr. Allard was,
Yeah.
and the affiliation with him and Northwest Trust and that, and the fact of knowing that the ownership with Mitch Klimoff and stuff, the partnership with the restaurants, with the Steak Loft, all of it was Old Bailey and stuff, and
So you understood that game.
understood that.
Were you worried about not being mentored there? Like nobody's going to mentor you at a corporation. Like there's no other architect there, or did you work under architects?
What the very extremely interesting thing was is that they wanted me to set up this whole division, and they were very closely affiliated. Mitch and the doctor were very closely affiliated with a gentleman by the name of Mickey Fingold
Oh,
of
okay.
Winnipeg, and they had set up for me to go specific time periods to go to Winnipeg and spend time with Mickey and all the functional.
Mickey was an
aspect.
architect?
Mickey was just a phenomenally talented gentleman that
Okay.
being a graphic artist by trade.
But he worked for the Allard Group, or was he on his own
He was
consultant?
on his own.
Okay.
He did a bunch of the hotels all across Canada, the very high end hotels.
Oh, good for him.
He was the one that did the original Steak Loft Old Bailey here in Edmonton, and the original
All from Winnipeg.
all from Winnipeg.
And so what was you stayed there for how many years?
Over 12 years before
12 years. And so
before-
12 plus 4, 16. Is that 16 before you went on your own, or you had already started somewhere in there to?
16 years into doing an incredible, phenomenal amount of crossover things because of the Alarco Developments, NA properties were growing and developing in all aspects. So I affectionately say that I was designing 3-4-star restaurants down to pole barns on Dr. Adler's Catherine Farm and stuff and whatever. And through that was very, very, very fortunate. And again, through my athletics crossover, that the doctor with Bill Hunter and Zane Feldman purchased the Oilers. And so that again developed my relationship with the Oiler organization to be very fortunate, very gifted to be able to work and design and do in-house design for the Oiler.
Because one brand, one job, one connection led you to the other. You don't know, like you said, where it's going to take you, and it did take you there. What took you to open your own firm? Like,
When Dr. Allard
what
decided,
triggered it?
when we were at a Christmas function, when we went to a Christmas function, and the doctor made a comment to his son, Cameron, who are all these people? Are these all of our division, the automotive division?
Yeah.
The NA properties and our other companies? And Cam's comment was, no, Dad, this is just head office. Within months, the corporation was sold to Karma. And at that point in time, I was approached through doing the different restaurants. I was approached with the partnership that Mitch Klimoff was involved in with High Eisenstadt. And at that time, they were looking to amalgamate. So that was my first introduction to the Eisenstadt family, is that I got to do the High's Steakoff downtown Edmonton.
That was the first then.
That was-
What year was that?
That would have been in 1982,
Good for you.
about 82.
And is that when, so the first firm you launched was Dingman Design? What was it called?
It was Rob Dingman and Associates.
Rob Dingman and Associates, and then that was 1982.
Yep.
Okay.
And at that point,
Tough times as well in Edmonton back then. Interest rates are through
tough
the
times
roof.
as well. I mean, I was very fortunate to be able to work with High at that point in time, and a
So you had some
couple
good
of.
clients before you went on your own.
I did.
Young family at home at 82.
Yep. Yes.
So when you went on your own, a bit of risk.
100% risk, but
Better half is
Top-
at home. Your young kids are at home.
yeah,
Like it's a risk to leave a
the paying
like
a decent,
contract.
well-paying job.
Yeah.
To dive in.
And set out as an entrepreneur, put out a shell. Like
I guess I was smart enough, naive enough, dumb enough, whatever you want to call it, to confident enough in the people that I was surrounded with. And you know this as well as I. You know, at any given time, I was taught by the doctor and Mickey Fingold, you surround yourself with good people.
Oh, yeah.
And don't ever be afraid to ask, you know. And from that time, just my clients that I was able to stable because of, you know, designing some nightclubs in the basement of the Old Bailey Steak Loft, the Lucifers, which was an amazing with the ceilings that we got in the one in Calgary. So it just opened all sorts of avenues of the hospitality that you would know.
Yeah, because you at
some
that
of the-
point launched hotel, restaurant design, nightclubs. Like
Yeah.
you weren't going into the strip mall design business.
No.
And were you out of your house, or what was your first office?
First office was kind of in a hole in the wall.
Yeah, so you didn't work out of your house ever.
No.
Yeah,
no.
either did I.
I was fortunate.
like it.
I was fortunate enough that when the doctor sold the corporation, that his son Cam had a large house, which was hopefully I wanted to be a historic house,
Yep.
which is south of Jasper Avenue, 117th Street. We developed that into offices and stuff, and had an exercise room, steam room
excellent.
in the basement and stuff, whatever. So that was my first on my own office and stuff. We were on kind of in the attic and stuff, whatever, and had a floor and a half
In
almost.
1982, holy smokes. Quite a few years after. It's 40 plus.
Yeah.
Yeah, I left
Don't
I
mention
left
age.
my work at to launch my own in '08. So bad times. So
Yeah.
we have that in common.
Well,
I launched in a really bad time in Edmonton. I think, generally speaking, I've never seen it as bad as that year, but Alberta has been protected in these past 2-3 recessions. Quite
they
a bit.
have.
How was it for you, the recession of '82 or the '80 recession?
Uh,
That slowdown. What did you do to protect your
I didn't
new
slow
baby?
down. I didn't slow down at that time.
Okay, so you came out.
There was enough people with the connections that I was able to develop and have. And when you're dealing with a professional team, like the Oilers, they were doing their offices, they were doing the wives and family room and doing those things. And just the spin-off of the restaurants. And you know as well as I do, sometimes when there's a downturn, if people have, a little pot of gold somewhere, they'll reno. Because even hotels, if the economy is extremely buoyant and stuff, they don't have time to reno. Even if they're a flag and they get their PIP and they have to reno at whatever time, they don't want to renovate if they're 95, 90, 100%, 90 to 100%.
Busy. Yeah.
So in a downtime, the wise one put some money aside and they would reno in the slower time. So just the different folks that I was in touch with, that's what they were doing. So that's what kept me alive more than anything. And very fortunate the fact that I never really the word of mouth was
Kept you
spreading,
busy.
kept me busy. And
How long did that last? Like, how long was the Rob Dingman and Associates? When did the brand change to?
it changed when
Was it still '80s or '90s? When
it
did
was
you
the
guys?
90s. I had employees back and forth, and I was so busy, I just felt I had to do something to take, maybe not unlike yourself,
Yep.
get someone with some more experience, and I had some experience. And at that point in time, I had an employee that moved to Calgary and then came with because her husband got transferred. At that point in time, Pat Roth and I had been working together very well.
Okay.
And, Pat was talking about coming back to Edmonton, and I said, well, why don't we look at going into, a bit of a partnership, and that way, neither one of us is taking the brunt of the load because, we had
You could help each
families
other.
and stuff, we could help each other.
Where was that office? Where'd you open that office?
It was in the house still.
Okay, so right downtown again.
Right
17.
downtown
Okay.
again for a whole number of years. And then when Cam decided to shuffle around and do some things and buy a building and buy another house and amalgamate some other stuff, Pat and I, through a mutual friend, ended up moving to White Avenue, between 108th and 109th Street on the north side of White Avenue.
Yeah.
Little hidden gem that nobody knew about with skylights on the second floor.
So that was
with,
office number.
That was office number 2. And we were there for 20 plus years.
No way. There's a Boston Pizza in the area, so you had a good lunch place next door.
Yeah, Boston Pizza was there. Got to know the family quite
No
well.
way.
Yeah.
Did your
Walked the
office smell
neighborhood.
like pizza? No.
No, we're
My
far,
house smelled like pizza.
No, we're far enough.
Growing up.
We're far enough.
Oh, you're far enough.
Yeah, we're far enough. The largest single problem with Mike Morin, with Michelle Morin, who's a mentor and a friend and a very good guy that got me first involved in Jasper, and that's a whole other story. But yeah, saw the ups and downs, backwards, sideways of White Avenue.
That was your landlord, or
for
that your
20
Boston Pizza friends next door?
No, that was the landlord.
Oh, no way.
Good friend, landlord, and whatever. And he owns that building and one in Spruce Grove.
And when did you leave that office?
6 years ago, so it'd be 16,
Okay, so you had a
17.
good run there. White
Great,
Avenue's nice.
great
I
one.
mean, you've seen White Avenue come and go, come and go, come and go.
Oh yeah, come and go, come and go, come and go.
Wow, that had a
Yeah,
ride.
up and down, yeah, like the speed bumps,
And still developing
the tags.
like crazy. Even all the way down to 9th Street, like you said.
Yes, good times,
Multifamily
good
coming.
times, bad times, family times. The tagging, the drug scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. We always
Rough again now, but I think
Rough again
generally
now.
when the sun's up, we're okay.
when the sun's up, you're okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Monday to Thursday, you're okay.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday,
Friday noon to Sunday night.
look up.
Yeah, yeah. But it's always been. I mean, it's no different than you go downtown Edmonton. You know. whatever.
So loads of success of being that we do what we do and we do the same thing. I could tell you that, you know, the business is up and down as well. And we ride the wave of
We
the
ride the
economy
wave,
every day. And it's fun. We're coming out of an interesting time with COVID.
That's cool.
If you look back, you've been able to ride that wave up and down and be successful at what you do. Your other success is at home, and I think it's a big part of who you are today. Speak to us about family and what that means for our viewers, balancing career with family and having great kids and having a great wife. Like, how were you successful at balancing both? How did you come out of that with a winner?
Very strong wife.
That helped.
Very detailed.
Wow.
Very detailed. Not unlike yourself.
Yeah, I'm fortunate
we're
in that
very,
reason,
very
yeah.
fortunate. My wife, bless her heart, was that way and was a mom, but worked from an early age, but worked.
So rock at the house.
Rock at the house.
Wow.
And when I first started my own company, did the bookkeeping at night. So
Come
you
on.
know the old put the kids to bed,
Yeah.
and then till
And invoice your client.
12:30, 1 o'clock, you're invoicing clients and doing paperwork. Did that for a whole number of years, right?
Wow.
And
It works and it helps.
it works. And we always worked on the auspices that it's quality time, not quantity time. I could be a slug, be home for 10 hours a day and be a slug.
Yeah, watch TV.
Yeah, and or do the quality time, and I always said, and I shared this with you and a couple of other friends of mine, is that the most important thing doing what we do in entrepreneurial people
Yeah.
is that your kids know you're going to be there. And if you and I have to work till 1 or 2 in the morning and drive all night, like I did for a number of years when my son was in Brandon, Manitoba, that's what you do. And that was a success that I have with a very strong wife that when the kids got older, went and worked herself up, you know, from being a receptionist in a company to be executive administrative for a large company before he sold the company, and then unfortunately my wife got ill. But
How many kids?
I have 2 children, one daughter,
Two.
one daughter,
Good for
one
you.
son. Daughter, the hairstylist,
Yeah.
and does very well, except for the fact I tease her that she was born left-handed, so the cost of
So you got one artist in the family. That's good.
one left-handed, she's left-handed, so the
No,
cost of
okay.
left-handed scissors back in the day was expensive.
Expensive. And
And
then your son's not an artist. He's
My
a
son's-
sportsman, which is also you. Because it sounds like you have like
Yeah,
you got
bit
two
of a-
sides. You're
Yeah.
a super artist and a super sportsman. So there
Yeah,
you go. That's,
I love
that's your
the
kids.
I love the sports aspect of
Yeah.
that stuff, and you know, my son very fortunate, very gifted athlete and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, after a successful athletic career and stuff, got into the radio TV arts for a period of time in the States, and because he's a Canadian, they wanted
Yeah.
him out
That was an interesting transition for him, right? From NHL to radio,
to radio
but
radio
still
sports and
professional radio, not
professional
not
radio, but
high school radio.
no
Yeah,
professional
it's tough, big
professional radio
change.
and professional TV.
Have you done radio?
No.
You should get into radio. There you go.
Well, he did
You
he
have
did
your own
radio. He did radio, but he also did TV game analysis, color commentary for the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Okay.
So the great thing is from school to what we do to mentor the young folks that we're doing, and from a professional athlete, and I've heard this even from my connection to some of the Eskimo football players, being very athletic and stuff and playing racquetball and stuff, is that a lot of these professional athletes, once their career is done, they're done. They're not allowed practices, they're
Yeah.
not allowed in the locker room. So with my specific son, it afforded him, because of the radio, but specifically the TV, it allowed him to be able to still be in contact with ex-teammates and still be involved in the sport. So that transition from that.
Yeah, he
getting
weaned off
into
nicely.
normal life-
It wasn't cold turkey.
He went, so,
Yeah,
no,
he
that's right.
weaned off, yeah, which I think is
That's
good
right,
and
yeah.
healthy. Which, I
It's
mean,
a-
can matter to you. I think you're weaning off the industry the same.
Yes.
Like you said, 6 years ago, you got rid of your office, but you stayed in the business. Yeah, you
Stayed.
didn't cold turkey it.
No, I didn't cold turkey because I still had clients that wanted me
Yeah,
and stuff, and
that's
and
forever,
you know, then,
forever clients, right?
yeah, and through my kid's mother and my wife being ill for a number of years
Mm-hmm.
and then passing away, there was a transitional period for all of us, and so I was trying to decide, what I want to do, and I still had people contacting me and stuff.
Yeah,
like
they don't
that.
go away, which is a blessing, I think.
It is, yeah.
And it's a profession that I think you can do literally out of your house, out of my office. Like it doesn't need, it's not a plant.
Well, and
It's
as I
all
was
in your
mentioning,
head, so
yeah.
it's good to
And
follow it up.
as long as the creative brain is there
Uh-huh.
and whatever, it's just, some of the day-to-day things that doing at your age or, 10 years, 15 years younger than you, that you enjoy doing, not maybe so much anymore, or you still enjoy doing it, but not every day. So,
Interesting.
moving on, not unlike yourself that wants to, say, not be a designer CAD person every day, all day designing. You're doing other things, which I respect and admire you for. Whereas in the majority of my office, I was the principal designer that did the space planning, did all of that aspect of it, and met with the clients. But
And then you did everything at both your firms. Like you did design. So I'm guessing you did the drawings, you did the quality control, you did design direction,
that's correct.
you did client meetings and business development. Like you were 360.
We were
And
360.
some of
one-stop
some of those
shop.
years were pre-CAD too.
Those years were pre-CAD, yes.
So when did you get CAD into your office? Let's go back in history.
Ooh.
I started in,
Ooh.
oh my God, 92. I would have started with release 9. Do you remember when you started CAD?
It would be about that, 92,
92?
94.
Wow.
Farming out a few things and
Yeah.
trying to figure the whole world, the whole
Were you
system
shocked?
out.
Were you pushing back? Like, no, this is not going to happen? You're
I
holding on to
wasn't.
your electric eraser for dear life?
Yeah. I still have my
plug?
my pencil. Yeah, I still have the electric eraser
No,
and the
electric
pencils
sets and all that
and
stuff.
the Leroy set, the Leroy
Leroys,
set,
those
and
are
the
the
triangle.
days.
Still have the triangle. Still
I got a few
kept
here.
those. Yeah, I
I got the university ones and the high school ones.
keep those forever. Still have on
I don't use
on
them.
disc. No, I don't. I still have on disc. Some of the hand-drawn drawings that I did, and just going back to hand-drawn drawings and the value of hand-drawn drawings, but the value of SketchUp and the new direction that your firm is taking and
Yeah.
others, is that we used to cut of design magazines and stuff, but I could tell you an interesting story about a client, a longtime client on other restaurant chains and stuff that they had, and we did a presentation to get accepted to do Ruth Chris's in Edmonton, Western Canada, and I spent 10 days myself hand drawing preliminary floor plan and elevations of the Ruth Chris in Edmonton.
By hand?
By hand.
Whoa.
By hand. And I took, when we went to the meeting in Florida, it's a very interesting story, but anyways, in
That's
Florida.
another
I
video.
took-
There you go.
There's
Your-
another
your trip
video.
to But I
My-
think
my trip to Tampa Bay to watch my son play hockey,
And
then him
the
renting
design restaurant.
and him renting me a PT Cruiser convertible that I drove to pick up clients in Orlando to go to
PT Cruiser.
PT Cruiser.
Whoa, you're
yeah.
rolling. So I did speak to you about what to me is your signature big project here in town is Ruth Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about that project, how it came about, and maybe add to some other projects that you've.
Well, that project came about of longstanding clients that were involved in other restaurant
Okay.
development that knew of me, and we got along very well. So that opportunity came, and then the introduction to be able to do an interview, to be accepted, both them and me as a designer of Ruth Chris's and stuff was the process. So that's the introduction to Florida. So when I took the hand-drawn drawings and whatever, we walked in with our presentation with ourselves
Yep.
speaking
Down in Florida now?
down in Florida, and they were asking us, well, what have you, what would you like to say? And my client said, well, Rob's brought some sketches and stuff, whatever. And I rolled out these 11 pieces of flimsy that I carried. Because back in the day, you couldn't carry drawings across the border because the border police would lock you up. And they looked at these and they said, wow, wow. And I explained them to them, wow. And they said, who did these? And I said, I did. And they said, you drew these by hand? And I said, yes, I did. And they looked, they asked me a couple of questions, technical questions, and I answered. They looked at my client and looked at me, and they stood up and they said, congratulations, you're on board. And my client said, it was like 20 minutes. My client said, well, what are we going to do for the rest of the time? They said, well, go rent some golf clubs, go golfing, you're in.
Oh, you're in Florida.
In Florida, yeah.
Any other big brands that I would know and our viewers can go visit today that are open and successful, like big restaurants like that?
Well, we can go backwards, but the Ruth's Chris primarily right now, the one here and the one in Calgary.
Yeah, you got one in Calgary, that's right.
The one in Calgary.
I like them both.
You would know, the one here was in an old bank, so we're jackhammering through the floor to get to the lower level, and then, you know, opening the bank, the vaults and pinning the doors back and jackhammering the ceilings to get more height and stuff was... Yeah,
that's fun.
It's very,
fun
a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
You've got hotels too in your portfolio, operating and of course old ones.
Yes.
What would be a hotel highlight that you remember doing?
Well, the Marriott Courtyard, which is the old
Still there?
Thornton Court.
So
still
one
there.
of your signature conversions from Thornton Court to hotel.
Three renos.
Three
renos.
Wow, great patio.
Originally, yeah, it's one of the best. I mean, the McDonald is the McDonald, but that patio, I designed that on the sketch with Mario Pagnotta.
I love that patio.
Whatever, and yeah, amazing view. It was the old ramp into the parkade.
That you repurposed for that.
Repurposed, yeah.
Oh,
we
wow.
used concrete block and sealed it with concrete block, and Mario with his ingenuity and me playing with different things. We figured.
And you tried hotels, you tried restaurants, you got Jasper, Banff, lots of success in Jasper.
Banff, lots
Canmore
of
success, Invermere now.
Yeah.
You also tried residential, which I didn't try. Tell me what drove you to residential, and what can you share with us, like some of the highlights of your residential design career?
My residential career and the projects that I was very fortunate to work on and work with were through my commercial clients.
Okay, so you did work for your clients.
That's correct.
Okay, so you didn't really put out a
didn't-
shingle in the residential
No, I didn't
business.
say, hey, I want to be in the res.
So it'd be your celebrity
Residential.
hospitality client or a landlord or whatever
That's
you're
correct,
working with,
100%.
they would want you to do a house.
100%.
And at that time, you're doing the entire house because of your architectural technology background?
Correct.
Not just the fireplace.
That's correct.
It's doing ground up homes.
That's correct, yeah. Ground up and complete gut jobs. and
Still
different-
standing, a lot of them here in town, or do you think they've been gutted or replaced
Still
with
standing.
a couple of skinnies?
No.
Still,
no,
eh?
Still standing.
Oh,
Still
wow,
standing.
good for
Very,
you.
very proud of that, yeah.
Yeah, it
very
makes you proud
of
to
it.
drive by and still see them up.
Yeah, and I'm not going to mention names, but because of we all in our walks of life are fortunate. I
Yeah.
mean, I have friends, and I have a good friend that affectionately calls whenever we've been out and whatever. Oh, isn't that so and so? And I go, no. And then she would say, oh, okay, another no name. So whenever I would run into Chris Kay on the street, she would say, oh, one of your no name friends, eh, Rob? So, and that became, and again, with yourself, we're very fortunate and gifted to be able to work with entrepreneurial clients that are very recognizable.
Yeah, they'd be high profile, but
High
prefer to have some privacy, and it's nice that you've kept
100%.
their work private, right?
Right, and a couple of my commercial clients became friends, and
Lifelong friends,
Lifelong.
outside of business.
outside of
For golfing and for racket sports,
Yeah.
right? A
and
little bit of
just,
squash.
yeah, and just going for a walk or hanging out, because again, whether you're an actor or a professional hockey player, even my own son said, he said to a couple of his cousins, remember the guy that you were asking for tickets to a game? It's your same cousin that wouldn't mind having a beer and a barbecue in the summertime. Same guy in shorts and flip-flops, same guy that puts on a uniform.
And to leave and to wrap up, I guess, the conversation about your storied career, and I appreciate you sharing some of this inside information that you have on how you got to the top of top of the building, and I understand, I've seen you in business now. You've definitely sent the elevator down for, I see you spending a lot of time even with my team here. So you got that character, and you're very interested in bringing the next generation up to the top of the building. Any regrets to that storied career? Like, what did you miss working in a small town like Edmonton? And like, you were a big fish in a small pond. What maybe was that bad or good for your career? And share with us.
I wouldn't say it was bad for my career. It was very good for my family to be part of the family unit, family component.
Yeah.
Was there opportunity to go to Vancouver?
Yeah, bigger city, yeah.
Several opportunities. Even to LA I was offered, and both. Maybe humorously, you and I would be having this conversation on a boat
Yeah.
on the water somewhere, as opposed to 124 and 105 Ave in Edmonton.
Inside.
you know.
Pre-snow, yeah.
But no, I would say that you and I being in Edmonton and looking at the growth and the development that some of the younger folks have taken the city to be world class now. I think we're very fortunate, and you know, you're young enough in your firm that we're going to see some exciting things in the future in Edmonton.
I agree. Thank you so much for your time, man.
Chris, thank you very
Thanks for
much
coming down.
again.